It never stops amazing me how many tools you can drag out of your toolbox in such a short amount of time. But anyway, that's okay because we're getting stuff done. Right there is where a drivetrain used to be. Came out tonight to just do one thing. Unbolt the cab, tilt it up in the front, put some blocks in there to give me a little more room to slide it out because that would make my life a little easier. And then, I don't know what happened. Last thing I remember is, oh, I couldn't lift up the cab until I pulled out the steering box. So I went ahead and unhooked the power steering lines, like I mentioned in the last video, that I was going to wait till the last minute to unhook. So I unhooked those and got the cab lifted up, and then next thing you know, I was under there anyway, so I just started pulling some other stuff out of the way, e-brake cable, and did all that, and next thing you know, I'm up in the front, or finding a chain to hook to the engine, just so I could get ready to pull that thing out maybe tomorrow or the next day. And then, boom, it's out. And the exhaust is pulled out, it's over there. And I don't know, it was a good thing, I guess, because things just flowed and it just kept going, and next thing you know, it's out. Wanted to show you guys, I had been talking about the oil pan and what looked like JB Weld smeared all around there. There it is. That's what I was dealing with. So I was trying to figure out the best way to repair that, and I did. I got on the computer and I ordered a new pan. That's the best way to repair that. So got a new pan, new gasket coming. Supposed to be here in the next couple of days. I tried to get a Ford pan, to be honest with you, because I thought, you know, I think life would be better off if I could just find a Ford pan. Well, thanks Ford. They discontinued it. So I ordered a Dorman, good, bad, or otherwise. That's what I got. Actually, the site I ordered it off of had a lot of good reviews about it and how well it fit. And so I'm going to go with that. I mean, I've used plenty of Dorman stuff. I think I actually used some Dorman stuff when I put some new pieces in that shifter deal. Anyway, I've used Dorman stuff before, and hopefully it doesn't let me down this time. So plan is, when the pan and gasket show up, get that switched out while it's still on the hoist. And then I think I'm going to just slip it down in. I'm going to have to drill, like I'd said, I think some new holes for this trans cross member. And there was something else I was thinking I had to drill for that I had modified for this. Lord, I don't remember what it was. But I'd like to wash this thing up, but I don't have a real good way of maneuvering this thing around and taking it up to the car wash to clean it up. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do that. Maybe after I get it set back in there and get things a little more buttoned up, maybe I'll roll the whole thing onto the trailer if I can get a day where it's decent, because it has been cold, cold, cold here in Kansas City. So here we are. A good night of getting some stuff done when I really didn't anticipate doing much. Like I said, it's a good thing everything just flowed, and we were able to, or I was able to, get this thing yanked out of here. And now I got this thing mobile again, so I can just slide it off to the side until I'm ready to get the cab swapped over. But that's probably going to be a bit, because I want to run the brake lines as much as I can with no cab on there up to the front. Got some weird stuff going on with these brake lines. Something I didn't expect to see. These brake lines have not been on there long, and they were all new. I just put them on. And this one was already starting to corrode. Probably can't see it real well. That sucker's corroded already. I don't know what's going on with it. That's that NiCad stuff. I didn't think it was supposed to rust. So I don't know what I've got going on there, but I could do some checking on that because I sure as hell don't want to spend time with that same product making new lines because I think that's what I have left. I don't want to do that and end up with that problem down the road. Hell, the truck never even went outside hardly. It's just been sitting in the shop for probably a year since I built those, but still. Anyway, seems odd to me, so I'll check into that. If anybody has any input on that or has had any problems with that, with this NiCad stuff corroding, please let me know. And let me know what I should be using, because that's what I used all throughout. And actually the brakes, when I was driving it around, the brakes were good. I felt like I had solved all a couple of my little leak problems I had. I think one of them was right up here. Got that taken care of and everything seemed good. So I was just going to build some new lines, but I don't want to build them out of that stuff if I'm going to have a corrosion problem. Anyway, throw something in the comments below if you know anything about that or have had any problems with that. Otherwise, a good night. Get that pan, that gasket, and we'll keep rolling. Baby steps tonight. Just some baby steps. Well, first of all, I got this propped up like this. So this is the start of transferring a cab from one chassis to another with one person. That's what that is. Kind of like I said earlier, the balance of things. Yeah. Hope it all works out. Anyway, like I said, baby steps tonight. That cab mount bracket, I pulled off of that side, transferred it over to the new chassis, got it on, rebolted this cross member on because it had been taken loose at some point in its life for some reason. So got that all on there, put the engine mount brackets on. Just small tonight. Haven't been out here very long. No problems. That's good. But that's it tonight, I think. No, I think that's it. I think we're going to call it quits. It's dark out, or I'd go pilfer around in the back of the shop to find some 4x4s to do that to the back of the cabin. And all I'm going to do is just jack it up, get it up on some tall jack stands and blocks and whatever I can put underneath it to get it lifted in the air, roll this chassis out from underneath, roll this chassis back under. Should be that easy, right? Yeah. We'll see. Well, let's get into this oil pan. I got the new pan, got the new gasket. It's time to get to work. What you doing? Coming to help? All right, it's time to get to work. Let's get this thing off here. I think I'll try to keep it as low as possible. Just so it stays balanced well on the hoist. I mean, it's a decent engine hoist. And I don't have it out too far, but I think I'll still try to keep it as low as I can. Well, the pan's off. Not seeing anything that I dislike down there. Everything looks as it should. Tell you what though, I haven't really looked in here to see, to be honest with you, why they did this to this pan. Let's get a light here. What the hell? I don't see anything wrong with that pan unless, well, there's one little thing down there that I see, and I'm wondering if that is the JB Weld or epoxy or whatever the hell that is poking through, but I can't hold the light and the camera at the same time. So there is one little thing. I'll check and see if that's what it is. Like a little tiny pinhole, 2 of them. That might be it. I don't know. Anyway, more to come on that. Pan's off. Let's get the new pan and new gasket in there and be done with this part of this project. Well, the new pan is on. I'm having some problems. So they give you these really cool pegs, screw-in pegs for, this came from Felpro with the gasket, that you put up in. I put them in the rear holes, and I put them in, I think, one back from the front. And you put those up in there, and you kind of, well, you sit your gasket up in there, you put these in, it kind of holds the gasket in place. And then what I did was put the pan over these. And when you slide the pan over, it locks on these little tabs. They're kind of a spring-loaded little tabby thing. So it goes up there, and once you push the pan on far enough, it holds everything up because it catches on those little ledges right there, which is really cool. Holds everything in place while you take the time to go around and make sure you get, all the bolts started and everything, which is all good. But on the front of this, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, right. And there, the holes aren't lining up. It's like the pan isn't pushing up tight enough against the engine. And I haven't torqued it yet, but it's pretty snug. And they're pretty far off. So I'm going to go watch some videos on YouTube, see if I can figure out the best way to solve that. I have a way in my mind of how I will solve it if I don't find a different recommended procedure. So anyway, it's up on there. Those two bolts are the only two that I haven't started yet, and because they don't line up. But everything else is snug and gasket's in place and everything hopefully is good to go. So once I figure out the mystery on those two front bolts, that project will be completed. All right, off to YouTube land. Back out tonight. Out into the frozen tundra. Jesus, for those of you that are not in the middle of the United States right now, we're having a frozen wave. And by that, I mean below zero. Like the regular temperature, well below zero. And I'm tired of it. And this little guy here, he's not cheap to run. I mean, I don't have a big shop. But when that thing fires up and stays running for a while, I can just hear like a cash register sound. Just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. If you go outside to my electric meter, it's spinning so fast, you could cut wood with it. So it is not a good time of the year right now to be in the middle of the United States. Minus 10, minus 15 regular temperatures, not feels like, not wind chills, like minus 15 regular temperatures. It's unreal. And it's been hanging around. This morning I woke up minus 6. Feels like minus 22. All right, I'm done bitching about that. Anyway, it takes everything I got to come out here and to try to keep the place warm with that black hole of money sucking. It just sucks. And it's hard to get motivated and everything else. But back out here tonight, I'm done bitching, done complaining. Because I actually accomplished something tonight. At least I feel like I did. The engine's back in. I finished putting that pan on. And I'm not going to go into detail about what I had to do. But this pan is the old pan. And after what I just had to do to make the new pan bolt up, I'm almost feeling like I should have fixed this one maybe. I don't know. Just didn't have a good feeling about what I had to do. Not going to go into detail about it. I had to do some modifications that I hope will work. And by that, I mean, I hope it's not shooting oil out everywhere. Leaking oil everywhere. So, we'll find that out later. But the engine is sitting back in the chassis. Not bolted up yet because I'm having a little bit of problems getting the trans lined up. And I have to go back and do some figuring, and I'm going to go back and look at some videos and some pictures because I took a lot of pictures of everything. to be honest with you, I don't remember if I've got this sitting in right, but I can't see that could go in any other way. I kind of kept everything together for that specific reason. But you can kind of see how far off I am right there. Now, can I force it over? Yeah, probably, but I just got to get the tape measure out and do some measuring off the old chassis and see if I can figure out what is going wrong. So I'll do that, but I'm not doing it tonight because I spent a majority of the night messing with that pan and then got it just kind of sitting down in its mounts. And we're going to call that good for now. So I'll try to get back out here tomorrow and at least figure this out and get this bolted back up. And, well, I got to get these holes popped. That's kind of what I'm going to have to do, a bunch of reference hole measuring. Now, I also have to remember that I have a different year chassis than this. And, of course, this started out as a long bed. So when I'm measuring off of different reference points, I got to keep all that in mind. So some of the things I realized that I didn't know when I initially started this, and I did not look close enough to see, is this chassis is a 7, I believe, a 67. Look at the width of the front crossmember. Look how wide that thing is. And I didn't notice this until I started switching over the engine mount brackets. Look how wide that dude is from here to here. This one, not near as wide. It's hard to see it now with everything in its way, but not near as wide. Now, when I started doing some measuring and figuring out exactly where to put the brackets, everything lines up. Everything's fine. It's no different. But for some reason, when they first started building this chassis, because this would have been the first one of this year, or this era, it was pretty wide. This is quite a bit wider, at least 3 inches wider up in here. If you look at the other one, it lines up the same way to the back of the tower. But it comes a lot farther forward than the one on the 70. 67, 70. 67 short bed, 70 long bed. So, like I said, a lot of similarities and stuff. I just have to go and do some really good reference point measuring to figure out where I need to pop those holes and do some more wiggling around to get those to line up. One way or another, I'll get it figured out. So once we get that done, before we bolt it up, we have to get this exhaust set back in there because it's tight, 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 super tight over on this side. Squeezing that baby through there. Cam had it just squeezed in there real nice. So I got to get that back in there because I have a feeling I will need to lift this engine to get this slid in there and all that. So that'll be next priority, get the exhaust back in it. And then I think I'll get my steering box back in and probably run all my new lines for my brakes while the cab's off, and at least get them up here to the front. And we'll call that probably good and start putting some body on. At least get the cab back on it to make sure that everything's sitting right. And probably set the radiator up in it. And once I get all the wiring hooked back up and everything, I'm going to fire that engine and let it run for a while to see how that pan is going to be seal-wise. And I'm definitely not getting rid of that old pan because, as much as I hate to say it, it may have to go back on. I don't know. We'll see. More to come on that. I'm babbling. I'm going back in the house. We're trying to do a little something every night, right? So we may not get a lot done, but at least we make some movement, which is better than sitting on the couch. So pop the holes for the cross member tonight. Measured, used this double hole, these double set of holes here, the back one on the double set, and then the first one back from it, factory punched hole. Double checked those to make sure that I had the same distance Maybe I can see it there a little bit better. That one and that one. Reference those and double check those against the old chassis, and they were spot on. So I don't know if you can see back there. That hole right there is the one that I had punched for the cross member, the new one for the cross member. You can kind of see it over here too. So I just measured off of that. And boom, I was having a little problem. I mentioned earlier I was having a little problem getting this trans centered up and back on the mount. It was just a matter of, it was just a little bit bound up here on the front mounts, so that wasn't a problem. I lifted it back up a little bit, which I had to do anyway to get this exhaust put in. I had actually got the transmission centered back up. I had the engine up a little bit, got the mounts back in right, recentered the trans, everything was good, wasn't in a bind, everything was good. Started to bolt it up, had the trans bolted up, had one of the motor mounts bolted up, and then remembered, oh yeah, this exhaust is kind of tight, and I'm probably going to need that engine over a little bit to get all this in, and I did. So I had to unbolt everything and lift it, pull it back out of the way a little bit, slide the exhaust in there. Worked. When I took it out of that truck, when I unbolted the exhaust out of the truck, there was like no gap here, like zero gap. Same with down here, there was like zero gap between this and the cross member. Trans and the converter, like zero, it was tight everywhere, but for some reason when I bolted up in here, I got clearance. Not a lot, but I don't know, 1/4 inch plus, 3/8 maybe in places. So we're all good. All good. So that's my little bit for tonight. Exhaust is completely bolted up. I don't know. So next is brake line. I had talked about running my brake lines down inside the frame rail before I put my cab back on and all that, but I'm not going to worry about that. I don't know what I was thinking. I want to do those last so that everything else is in there. I don't want to put this brake line in and then go to put my steering box in and it's in the way. So I'm going to put everything in, and the brake lines are going to be easy to run. I mean, I ran those before. It's that NICOP stuff, which I still have to look into because that's what I thought I was using on this before, but it started corroding. So I got to dig out that package and make sure I don't use that again. What I will do is probably run my fuel line down inside there, back in there. Just a couple miscellaneous things. The wiring's already down there. And I think I'm ready for a cab. So we just need to like wave a magic wand and get that cab over here. Either that or, I don't know, magic wand or about 8 guys to comfortably lift it. Which this may be perfect timing because we have a Hindsight Engineering board meeting this weekend, Saturday, and we're going to be talking about Power Tour. Yes. So, and it seems like quite a few people are going to go. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Maybe I can sucker those guys to come over here and help me. Right there. We'll see.